Welcome to the Heal, Thrive, Dream podcast, where trauma survivors become healthy thrivers. Each month, we'll feature a theme in the trauma recovery and empowerment field. To promote your recovery, healing, and learning how to build dreams, here's your host, Karen Robinson, transformational coach and therapist.
Hello, welcome to the Heal, Thrive, Dream podcast. Today, our guest is Dr. Frieda Birnbaum. She is a research psychologist and psychoanalytic therapist. Dr. Birnbaum is passionate about educating the general public about the many forms of emotional manipulation that can take place in romantic relationships, especially gaslighting. The topic of gaslighting has become an increasingly present fixture in the media, and Dr. Frieda is committed to making sure people are fully aware of what it is, how to identify it, and how to effectively address it for yourself and with loved ones who are involved in abusive relationships. So, Dr. Frieda, thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
So as you can imagine, some people are not familiar with the term gaslighting. Do you have a quick and dirty description of what that is?
Well, in 1938, it actually started in a play where a husband wanted to make his wife feel that she was going crazy so he could steal her money. And they defined that as gaslighting. And today, what gaslighting really is, it's a psychological manipulation of one person to another, trying to get them to lose their sense of self-esteem and to get them to do what they want them to do, basically.
Okay. And where did your interest in gaslighting come from? Is it something that you ran into in the past in your relationships?
Well, I've been in this business for more than 30 years. And I've come across a lot of these situations where couples will come in and I'm reading between the lines, and basically what they look like is not necessarily who they are. And they present themselves beautifully, they say all the right things, but the other person is miserable. And why is that? There has to be a reason for it. So I looked at it and I researched it and I saw that it may have been subtle or not so subtle at times, but there were things that were driving the other person to feel inadequate and losing a sense of themselves in this relationship. And it's usually one-sided. It's usually one person. It doesn't have to be marital. It doesn't have to be a relationship. It could be with business. It could be with friendships. I mean, you name it, it's across the board. And some people, salespeople, whatever, they're very skilled at doing this, manipulating your psyche a little bit to go in the directions that they want you to go into, which is not that easy or pleasant. You never know. You have to really be able to be aware of who you're talking to.
Right. So what are the consequences for anyone that finds themselves in a situation where they're being gaslighted?
Well, the consequences are that you disconnect from your friends, you disconnect from your relative because you basically want to get along with your partner or want to get along with this person in your life. They will call you crazy, insane. This person that you feel adores you is jealous of people that you talk to, of you talking to them, wants to control you. It's usually a narcissist, very self-centered. So those are the type of people, and this is what happens to you during this process. And if people tell you look different, you're not acting yourself, that's also a signal that something is going on that's making you change. In this situation where you feel you're being complimented, you feel that person really cares about you, but that person's really chipping away at your self-esteem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it sounds like gaslighting is just one symptom of many, and in possible domestic violence situations, it can definitely be symptomatic of that. Yeah.
100%. I mean, We're talking about emotional gaslighting, where a person won't listen to you, won't validate what you're saying at all. And then there's the gaslighting with no respect. They could be having an affair. They could not be telling you where they are or who their family is or who their friends are. There's always something that they're not telling you. And even if you try to call them, they won't be available. They forgot their phone. They forgot to turn on their phone. I mean, give me a break. There's always something there that makes you feel a little off, a little edgy, a little not quite right. And the interesting part about it always ends up being the victim's fault. And they're very
Right.
good at making the victim feel they did something wrong. That's the
Right.
sad part of it.
Yeah, it's very sad.
Yeah.
For someone to make you think that you're crazy when you're asking them questions that you see evidence of in their behavior, it's terrible. So I want to ask you a couple personal questions. Of course, if you prefer not to answer them, I will, respect your privacy. A lot of us who come into the field to help survivors is because we've had a taste of it in some way, either in our childhood with our families of origin or in our dating relationships or marriages. Does that happen to be something that's true for you?
Yes, absolutely. It's true for me. And that's why I'm in this field to begin with, because I can feel people's pain. I can feel people's turmoil and their doubts about what they're supposed to do. And it's always the same thing. Should I please other people or should I please myself? Pleasing myself means you're a bad person psychologically. I grew up with a family where there were Holocaust survivors, my parents. So forget about pleasing myself. They were way more important. I pleased them. I got married at 22. My mother cried to the world, my daughter's not married yet. I felt she went through enough. I didn't care about myself that much. I didn't care about any of my issues compared to what my parents went through. So it was always about who am I to complain about anything when they went through such hell? I'll do whatever it is to make them okay. So that's my personal story, how I got into this situation of trying to please. And then, of course, when I did get married, and I've been married a long time, it was about trying to please my husband. And I think my orientation was that what happens when you don't want to be subservient? Do you lose the marriage? Do you have to pay a price? Are people going to be very critical of you? Being liked was always very important to me. That's what I based my answers on. Am I going to be accepted or I'm not going to be accepted? When I was 18 and I wanted to act, my mother says, like being a prostitute. Well, God forbid I should do that. I didn't want to upset her. So it's always this back and forth of, being comfortable with my family before I went ahead and did the right thing for myself. So what I did was I educated myself. Okay, they can't be critical about that. I got married early. They can't be critical about that. I had a practice. So I did all the things that fit into the slot of being approved. But then again, where was I? You couldn't find me in there. Everything looked good, but where was I? I was still that girl, that teenager who wanted to talk to a lot of people at one time, wanted to be out there and make a bigger difference. That was my persona at the time, and I still am doing that today. And that's who I really am today. So I didn't have to get a PhD to write a book. I didn't have to get a PhD to be on this show or any of the other shows. None of that. So where I am now is where I would have been if I didn't try to prove myself to everybody else. But then would I have been selfish? After all, I live in a beautiful home and have everything, and my father didn't have food to eat, almost died of starvation. And I would have had a brother who died of starvation. All these things that really hit home to me was the direction I went with my practice. And I saw that I could make a difference, and that healed me. It was like making a difference to me when I saw that they were progressing. I believe in relationships. I kept marriages together, and I could walk away feeling a sense of satisfaction because I connected to the people I was involved with. But I did see, as far as relationships are concerned, you cannot be needy. You have to be happy first. You have to be able to know what it is you want, to know what to look for. We're in a situation where we come over dependent, then the person will control you, and it's not that person's fault. You're setting up. So you have to take responsibility for our own behavior before we judge someone else. So this gaslighting situation is similar. Would you be involved in that if you were in a better place yourself? Would you be less vulnerable to having to hear what somebody else needs? Because the best thing to do is to be in the right place and have somebody join you, not to change, to make any differences. It's hard. As the therapist that you are, it's very hard to make changes, weekly, to restructure, to go back, to stay in the moment, having game plans, all that stuff that we're talking about. A person needs to want to change, first of all. Right. People that come to see me, they don't even know what they want. First, you have to know what you want. You have to know what you want from yourself in order to go out and act on it and put yourself forward. Some people have been so repressed that they weren't allowed to have their own minds and their own feelings. And they hold on to that because that's being the good person. So that's part of why I was interested in this area. What makes people feel that they have to have agendas to make another person change instead of looking at themselves. And these people, these gaslighting men, women, the red flags is that they will not change. They will just go on to another partner. They may go to therapy for a little while, and they may do better in therapy. But unless they continue therapy, and I believe some people just need to always continue therapy to reparent it, and to just be held in this one place, because we all evolve in some way. So that's part of my treatment after all these years I've been doing, and my own personal connection to what I'm doing. Of course, I have a family. I have 5 kids. I have a husband. And there's always drama and issues in everybody's life, and mine included. But it does help me and empowers me when I have the opportunity to work through my issues. It makes me stronger, and having the experience that I've had for so many years, to take what I have in front of me, and that is other people's lives, and to be able to mold and shape and change. So it's really a privilege for me to be able to do that.
Yeah, I agree. I feel the same way. Our work is definitely a privilege, and in healing for everybody involved. What else has been helpful during your own healing journey? Did you have a certain type of therapy that you felt was more helpful than others? Self-care practices that were more helpful? Lots of fruits and veggies. Like, what's your secrets?
Well, fruits and veggies, it should be my secret, but it's not. I wish I could say that it's part of my lifestyle here. Well, my background is Freudian. As a psychoanalytic therapist, I'd have to be on the couch a couple times a week, and it was expensive. and to go to the cause of the decay of the problem. And somehow, when I go to that place of having parents that gave me love, but were not literate, they spoke Yiddish, and I did my first language. I couldn't speak English when I went to school. Kids were laughing at me. But so that's, my background is that my parents needed help themselves. So I would take them places. I was embarrassed by my parents because they had this broken English and they didn't look like all the other parents. So my mother would want to go, we called it at that time PTA meetings. And I told her, don't come. So I feel guilty, but I did those things. Don't come.
It's a normal kid behavior, though, if you can give yourself a little bit of a break.
Nice. That time,
not nice.
I was not nice. But what's interesting is I did not know about my parents' experience till I got married. That's when I became nicer. Yes, I just didn't, I sort of resented them. I was self-centered and who am I going to go out with and what do I look like and that stuff. Like my kids are today, which I think is funny when I look at them and say, oh my God, clueless. But so what was your question? Because I'm rambling on. I want to make sure I'm giving you the answers you're looking for.
I was curious about your own healing journey, like what was really helpful to you other than, becoming a therapist.
Yeah, and I think as we keep alive and longevity in our future, we're always healing. We're always evolving. It's part of life. If you stand still, see, here's my wonderful son, and I shouldn't be answering. I'm in session. Call Dad.
Real life people.
Just to know something about me. If I tell my husband I'm in session, I'm free. I can stay in here. I don't have to talk about anything. That's my best way of having myself to myself. But what was I going to say? So yes, I'm always evolving, even now, even finding out what it is that's most important to me. As I was saying, as long as you live, you need to keep making changes because it makes life interesting. Otherwise, what happens? You stay in the same place, you stay stuck. And therapy, by the way, helps that. Therapy helps you to keep growing and to keep changing. So people have come to me in the beginning, are still coming to me, but for different reasons, because they see that when you're looking at what's going on in your life, you can make things happen instead of things happening to you. So they feel really good about that they keep adding on to what was already better than before. So I try to do the same thing with myself. I get up sometimes in the middle of the night. That's my best time. I want to text people, then I say, no, I better not. I'll wake them up or something. They'll think, oh, this crazy woman in the middle of the night, she's bothering me. So I wait. But that's my best time when I wake up. There's nobody around. I can Google everything, what's going on. I can look things up that are important to me and, making progress as far as not only with mental health, but to be able to know that, life is long enough. You can get everything in, but you have to do it to get it in. If you wait, it's not long enough. So it's so easy. It's so easy to just say, I have to call this person. Oh, okay, let me call this person now. There you go. So instead, people write a note to call the person. And then they forget. Yeah. Just, that word, just do it. So
just do it. Yeah.
So just do it. So because it really festers inside you and builds up and builds up. And then you have anxiety and you don't know why. Yeah, well, you didn't do this, or you forgot this person, or you're supposed to pick this person up, or I have a podcast. Why am I? And then you're looking at them and you're like, what is with this lady here? What happened with her? I ran out of my house. God forbid I should ever leave. I never leave. If you really want to know the truth about me, I'm here. I live here. This is my office. This is where I see my patients. This is where I do my Zoom calls. I used to go to the studio after the pandemic. Nobody wanted that anymore. So I just basically live here. And if I go out, God forbid, the phone doesn't stop ringing. And then you're waiting for me because it didn't come on time. And then I have something else that I was supposed to have done. But it's, really setting your priorities are very important to me with my family, with my needs. And I don't see myself as selfish anymore, but I do see myself as being true to myself and doing what makes me happy. And then seeing that my kids are okay. So I have 5 kids. I make a checklist. One is at the beach. He showed me a picture. He's sitting on a towel, not wanting to touch the sand. He's 22 years old. He's not 4. Not wanting to touch the sand and hates the water. But of some kids he knew, just graduated college, he wanted to get together with them. And they're all without their shirts and they're buff and everything. He's sitting with the shirt on, with the hat on. And I said, oh my God. So should I worry about this? What?
I said, poor baby.
Yeah, poor baby, because he's very sensitive to criticism. He has a hairy chest and it hurts to get the thing off and whatever that is. So I think about him and I texted him and he says, thank you. So I took care of that. Then my son is driving. I have twins. So one of them started taking lessons before the other. So I said, you can drive to school. I'll sit in the car next to you. He's driving. He's turning like he's playing with a toy or something, And as you know, I don't know if anybody knows what it's like to be with a child that's just learning to drive.
It's scary.
It's like your life is like you could have any second something's going to happen. Just watch out.
It's so scary.
Oh, no. So he gets to the front of the school and then bang, all of a sudden he hits the curb right in front of the school. Everything was pretty much okay. So that, is part of what I go through with teenage boys, and they're the opposite. So when I talk to one is Josh, one is Jarrett. And somebody says, say Jared or something. I don't know who I'm going to talk to. And they say, well, what are you calling me? Don't you know my name by now? And so
no, actually, no.
I don't. So they're very different in the way they have a rapport with me. And they are very different the way one is very responsible, one is very playful. So he's always putting the other one down. I'm thinking, well, if they were twins, the other one wouldn't be so criticized. So it's also that kind of manipulation, because as you know, the way you see life, especially in high school, your frontal cortex is developing. That's pretty much basically the direction. I hate to say this. So I want them to be responsible. I want them to treat other people in a sensitive manner, to be good to them, to give back more than what you get, and to not feel that someone else's happiness is at your expense. On the contrary, to give and to enjoy that kind of relationship. And hopefully, they're not going to be the statistics we're talking about, because you really have opportunities to see through other people, their good nature, their direction, taking turns. I mean, a healthy relationship really is one where 2 people take turns giving back and forth. And today, nurturing and careers are interchanging with one another as well. So that's another thing that is flexible, that we have the opportunity to go back and forth to fill in what was missing. Women, as girls, usually taught to be nurturing and boys to go out in the world, but each is missing the other. And then, when there's a divorce, they try to fill in with that. And so why not do it while you're married? Where the women will try to fulfill a sense of who they are. And men actually, after divorce, get into a relationship much quicker, because that was the missing element of themselves at that time. So, I think the reason I'm in this field is because I really value a companionship, to have someone to talk to at the end of the day, to be able to connect, to feel understood, not even to be told what to do, but just somebody who hears you. When you're out in the workforce or with family or with school, you have to have a certain type of dynamic. It's important in order to get along. And when you come home, you don't have to have that, but that's when the problems begin, because you feel too safe. And then you let all your emotions out, and the person, your partner, whoever, your child, whatever, has to hear all this stuff. And sometimes it can create stress. So we have to know that it has nothing to do with them. It's just that especially in a car, forget about being in a car together. Because if you vent in a car, I mean, I've had in my family, we've had to stop many times. One time, I let my husband out of the car. We were on a highway because I was going to kill him first. There's one or the other. And this poor guy.
I'm a mandated reporter.
Yes, I'm telling you. And this poor guy thought I was going to definitely pick him up. I didn't pick him up. We were going to the shore. He ended up walking on the highway to my parents in Philadelphia and took some subway. And he was so uncomfortable. I was not a good person. So no, I was not always a good person. So so I can't believe I did that to him. So being in a car is not, we can't feel too safe. And it's interesting, if somebody else is in my house, then I really get a picture of how I'm responding, because otherwise I'm like all over the place. And my teenagers, of course, don't listen to me. And if I have a patient, I have my office in my home. I have it very convenient. One of them, my wonderful Josh, will tell them, I don't know what I'm doing. You shouldn't see her.
Oh,
Don't
gosh.
listen to her.
Oh.
Oh my God, I hope this
When
passes.
are these kids leaving the house? Like how many are in your house now?
2 more years. They have 2
2
more
more years.
years.
So your twins are the youngest?
They're the youngest. And then I have my 22-year-old who lives in Hoboken. I don't know where are we? Where are you located?
I'm in Alexandria, Virginia.
Virginia. Okay. So this is New Jersey. So I live in New Jersey. So this is closer to school. It's a lovely place. It's not the Manhattan big city, who cares environment. It's it's a smaller city, which is much nicer. So he's doing extremely well. He already was been recruited. He already has work. I'm proud of him with that. I think my kids, I basically leave them alone a lot, psychologically, to make decisions. Homework, doing your homework, you'll get good grades, you'll go to good college. You're not, you won't. That's about it. It's up to you. You have to do that. I can't really do it for them anyway. What am I going to do? Sit with them? And the grades sometimes are not fair. They are fair, according to who the teachers are. That's something else. So I think my motto is, don't sweat the little things and look at the big picture.
That's a good motto.
Yeah, where are you going?
Yeah.
What is it? What is it that you want? What is important to you? And so when we're talking about this type of relationship, and you can't be healthy you can't meet somebody healthy till you're healthy. It's interesting that men mostly look at a relationship as part of who they are. And see, I'm trying to get all my stuff in. I'm packing it all.
Yeah.
Here's my time.
We're running out of time though, so I want you to make sure you have time to talk about your book.
Okay,
as
thank
well.
you. I love that. Thank you. So just the last sentence is that it's important to know that men look at a relationship as part of who they are, and women look at a relationship as all of who they are, and then they become too dependent. The men end up doing what they want, which is to control them, because they become so dependent. And then women complain, and they come to people like me and yourself, and then they want to know what happened. That's what happened, actually. So we have to have hobbies and friends and do our stuff before we meet somebody who could be gaslighting you. So you'll know that it's not a good place, but you have to know what a good place feels like to begin with.
Absolutely. Okay, so now tell us about your book.
So I wrote a book when I turned 60. I was very surprised. I remember years ago, Oprah Winfrey said, watch out for 50. It's the best. Well, guess what? I found 60 to be the best, the most invigorating, most exciting time in my life. I had insight, stamina, fortitude, and moved in a direction like I never moved before, and made progress like I never did in my life. And opposite of the way I was brought up, I didn't care who said whatever they said. And I ended up speaking in public, getting awards, all this stuff, because I really saw that life is so wonderful if you take those opportunities to have passion for what you're doing, to follow through on what is important to you, to be able to say to people, get out of my way, I'm coming through. That's what it's about. The more you do, the more critical people will be. Don't go there. Don't look for approval. Don't look for people to say you're wonderful. Because guess what? They're not going to say that for you. They're going to feel, wait a minute, if she's wonderful, who am I? Now, there are people who are really in sync with you. And my research has shown that those people don't manipulate. And those people are supportive because they're in the same place. Be with people that are like-minded, like yourself, and you'll be able to not only get support, but you'll be able to grow forward. So I'm just telling your listeners, 60 is fantastic. And guess what? It gets even better. It has been getting better.
That's awesome to hear.
You're in for good times. Be open to it. Don't listen to other people who like to be victimized. This is secondary gain. No, it is not. Nobody wants to identify you as a victim, but you can identify yourself as somebody who can make a difference to yourself and keep going, keep making those changes, and just say, I'm coming through. Here I come.
Okay, the title of your book?
Oh, the title of my book is Life Begins at 60.
Okay. Oh, so you're preaching your title, and I didn't even, it's the same.
Oh,
so
yeah.
It worked out. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm living my title.
Yeah.
I had another book just quickly, What Price Power? It's all about women and empowerment as well. And what happens to a woman when she becomes career and professional? Her life gets much better. Her husbands listen to her husbands. Well, if she only has one husband, maybe she has a few, could be.
She's really empowered.
Yeah, she's very, if you could get through a few husbands, bless you. One is too much already. But, so that's really the direction I always went into, which is, wow, it's something that, look what's in front of me. When you can't, you can't. But when you can, you can. And then go ahead and take those opportunities. Absolutely.
Now, our listeners who want to know more about you or reach out to you, what's the best way for them to connect?
I have a podcast, the Dr. Frieda Show, DOCTOR, FRIEDA show, on my website, which is spelled DRFRIEDA.com. But, I have other things, but who wants to trouble with all this information? Who's going to remember it? Nobody.
I'll have it in the show notes for listeners to check out.
That's okay. That's plenty for them. I hope I made a difference to somebody. I hope I got in what I wasn't able to in the beginning. I have to apologize. I was late to you, but I hope I could have made some difference and impact with what I say. And yes, as the years go by, there's so many things that happen from experience. And I know a patient says to me, are you making these stories up? Or are these really things happening to you? You always have a story to tell me when I tell you something. I said, I couldn't make this up. This is life. Things happen all the time. Everybody can write a book. Everybody has stories. Everybody has a history of things that happen to them. I think there are many books to be read and many books to be written that we can really learn from. Absolutely.
Well, Dr. Frieda, we are so appreciative of your time and wisdom today. Thank you for being here with us.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed the interview. Thank you so much. Be well. Thank you.
Be well too.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening in today. Please join us next week, same day and time. Also, I would love for you to check out my website, healthrivedream.com.